Dragon Ball is, of course, a beloved franchise spanning decades, beloved by many, hated by few. But of course, coming with the massive success of the anime, obviously comes some games. Now, of course, you do have your mainstays. People ask you, hey, what games do you like from Dragon Ball? They're going to give you a couple answers. They'll give you Budokai Tenkaichi series or just the Budokai series, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, very much kind of arcade style game, which is something similar to what we'll be talking about today, and maybe some random obscure Dragon Ball game that many people don't know about. But the game I'll be talking about is a very old game at this point. It didn't feel old a while ago, but it is the 2006 entry Super Dragon Ball Z for the PlayStation 2. Now, of course, Super Dragon Ball Z first started off as an arcade game back in 2005. Now, of course, must have been beloved for the sole fact that they made a PlayStation 2 version a year later. Now, of course, I do have my PlayStation 2 copy, and that's essentially why I'm making the video, right? If I didn't have it, I wouldn't be talking about it. It has a very special place in my heart, just like many other games I grew up with. I just spawned in, and I just had a bunch of these games. But besides that, what Super Dragon Ball Z does differently from the older and even newer games of the franchise is the fact of its fighting mechanics. Of course, it started off as an arcade game, at least to this wiki, so I hope it doesn't lie. But it is completely different. It's more traditional, more of a combo type game. No offense to the older ones or even newer ones like the Budokai entries and the Sparking Zero entry. I do have a bit of a hot take for that. I do not really like the fighting mechanics there. For me, what I see is just go in, just press the same button over and over again, which, don't get me wrong, is something that arcade games do. Obviously, the Injustice series and Mortal Kombat have their own little corner cutting combos, obviously pressing the same button over and over again, and even Super Dragon Ball Z. But to me, the mechanic is just go in there, hit them a bunch of time, throw them across the stage, dash into them, throw them across the stage again, throw them across the stage. This one is a lot more, as they would summarize in the wiki, hand to hand. It's more of a fisticuffs, right? Obviously, Dragon Ball is known for its martial arts. Obviously, nowadays barely even uses it. Half the time, you just throw whatever you could get at it, right? Throw your strong punch, and that's about it, right? So this one, grounds it a little bit more. Obviously, you could fly, costs a lot of energy. Best to just stay on the floor, right? Of course, you have your combos, which is very crisp and clean. Not only that, the essential art style of Super Dragon Ball Z is closer to a comic and manga style. If you look at it side by side, even it looks pretty similar. Now, of course, it is a 3D game for the PS2, so obviously it's not a one-to-one remake, but it is close enough. I like the aesthetic. It is very much visually pleasing. It does also have whatever the hell this is. I do not know. Someone please educate me on that, but I love that. It's something little, especially when you beat your opponent with a super strong special attack. It does a special little background animation, or at least picture of winning, right? So obviously very good. The whole earth just starts cracking and all that stuff. I love it, right? But besides that, besides the essential mechanics and overall look of the game, what about the actual stuff you could do in the game? Now, unfortunately, that is where Super Dragon Ball Z kind of doesn't meet expectations. Now, of course, Dragon Ball Z obviously is known for its story. Just like most of these games, you have an essential story mode, right? You play it, everyone loves it. This one does not. Now, of course, it was an arcade game, like I said. So obviously, maybe they didn't want to wait to make a story mode when they could have just easily put out a game everyone already loved. So yeah, that's probably something. Makes 100% sense. But the essential 2 game modes that you could do, besides the, of course, 1v1 with your friends, is the essential original, right? That's your technically essential story mode, essentially. Of course, there's your essential arcade ladder game. Obviously, you beat opponents until you get to the main boss. That is the boss of the series, that being Final Form Cell. Now, of course, doesn't really matter me saying Final Form Cell since there's no other versions of him in the game. But, which we'll talk about later, because the characters are also something of importance, right? But the one thing that is weird is the fact that Majin Buu is in the game. And he's not the final boss. And there's not I do believe there's not some special arcade ladder where you can fight Majin Buu. But whatever, he does appear in a different area, right? But the character is obviously very interesting. If you look at what's on your screen, you see a bunch of fan favorites. Obviously, the ones everyone knows and loves: Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Gohan, and Future Trunks. Everyone loves them. Of course, you do have your secondary characters like Krillin, the androids. Oh, I forgot Cell, but Cell's there too. I already told you. Frieza and Majin Buu. But the weird ones are the special entries. Not saying that they don't deserve it, but I feel like other people do kind of deserve it, which we'll talk about later. That being Chi-Chi, Videl, Mecha Frieza, Majin Vegeta, and Demon King Piccolo. These are very interesting entries into the cast of characters for the sole fact that you could probably just make them into cosmetics. I mean, it kind of just takes up a slot. You could just make Vegeta, Majin Vegeta by just switching his colors, and same thing with Mecha Frieza and regular Frieza, because I do believe there is like very little to their attack difference in their attack. Obviously, Majin Vegeta has his whole sacrifice thing, but for the most part, you could, I don't know, maybe not take up a whole slot. Why? Because obviously, just like many other Dragon Ball games, that being basically all of them, you can collect Dragon Balls by winning in the original game mode and or Z Survivor game mode. Of course, the Z Survivor game mode is the essential forever mode. Well, it's not, okay, my bad. It's not actually a forever mode, but it kind of feels like it, right? Because Z Survivor, right? But the final warrior, essentially, hey, you made it all the way here, double or nothing, right? You get double, obviously, of everything you gained, or you leave with nothing. Those mini bosses being Majin Buu, so that makes sense. Like I said, he returns. Cyborg Frieza, which makes sense. Gohan, which kind of, or Videl. That's also a little weird, but for the most part, you are basically double or nothing. That always raises the stakes, feels nice. Once again, the Dragon Balls, what do they do? Just like many things, it just unlocks basically cosmetics for, you know, your characters, right? Different color, additional attacks, which is good because Gohan, obviously, you've seen in the character thing, he fights with the sword. That's right. It's not the Z sword because obviously they call him Ultimate Gohan, which obviously we know that can't be possible. He's fighting with a Z sword because the Z sword just is destroyed, right? That's the whole reason why he became Ultimate Gohan, right? But he does get a special attack where he just straight up just does a little tornado. The coolest thing I've ever seen. I remember back like 10 years ago I played it and I was like, oh my god, it's happening, right? Because I could never get that combo right. But you get extra attacks, unlock the characters, most likely like Demon King Piccolo, and you can get special attacks for your custom characters, that being Yamcha's Wolf Fang Fist, Tien Tri-Beam, and Nappa's Flame Pillar, which makes me feel a little bit sad because none of these guys made it into the, you know, game, right? Which is a little weird because why couldn't they? I mean, they own the characters, right? I get it, they have to model them and make the whole thing, code them and all that stuff. I get it. Very time consuming, but I guess that makes sense, right? No one's really, you know, that thrilled that Yamcha or Tien or Nappa's in the game, right? So it makes sense. Unfortunate, but it makes sense. And of course, the custom characters aren't really that custom. You can't design your own characters. Once again, it's an arcade game. Very limited in what it can do, right? Especially because it's supposed to be, you know, back then, right? But it does allow you to level them up. So, hey, Chi-Chi's weak. Hey, just level her up. That's as easy as that. You don't got to worry about her being, you know, weak. But besides that, there's not a lot other than that, other than the aesthetic, the essential fighting mechanics. Obviously, the soundtrack, once again, soundtrack pretty good, you know. Overall, just look at the game. It looks nice. Look at these pictures that they have. It looks amazing. Well, okay, well, as amazing as pixelated PS2 art is, but shh, it doesn't matter, right? But just like every game, there are some annoying characters. Which one are these? It's Android 16. It is Android 16. He keeps throwing rocket punches. What? Whatever. I guess he's the weird. He gets the brunt of the hate, right? People don't like him. By people, I mean me. But besides that, one thing, just like everything we'll do with the games I'll talk about in this channel, we will be streaming it live on Twitch eventually. So just link in the description, also for Instagram. So I essentially will announce when I'll stream. You'll also see some clips from previous streams. Obviously, once again, just plugging it in. We'll play this one, although I'm pretty sure I unlocked all the characters. We'll just play like we don't, right? We'll just play like we don't, right? We'll just play until we get shown on enough times, right? But besides that, that's essentially it. A very special place in my heart. You know, as a game I grew up playing. I did not like because as it being a 1v1 game, let's just say my older brother kind of whooped my ass, right? But besides that, once again, this is a very, very fun game. If you have any chance of picking this game up, which I assume they're cheap, right? You know, the main problem isn't the game. It might be the fact that, you know, you don't have the PS2, right? Which is weird because I have a different art from Super Dragon Ball Z. $30? What? $78? What the hell are they selling? What? Oh, it's sealed. Okay, I guess. Well, that's the point. I want to play the game. I don't want to just look at it. But oh well. Hopefully you do the legal way of playing these games. But if you don't, I will not really care because I'm not your dad, right? But besides that, this is the essential end of the review. I love this game. Good mechanics. I like it. I like it better than the other Dragon Ball mechanics. But for the most part, that's the end of the review. The next video will of course be one of two. Depends on which one I do first. That being Grand Theft Auto Ballad of Gay Tony or Blitz 2002. Another very old game. But besides that, I hope you enjoyed this video. The next one's obviously going to be movie reviews, but keep that in mind. But besides that, I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll catch you in the next one.